They said destiny is not something you can steal. It recognizes its rightful owner. What is meant for you will find you, no matter the distance, and what is not will turn against you when you dare to claim it. This is the story of two sisters, bound by blood, divided by fate. In the house of the Okeke family, two sisters lived, but only one thrived. Adana was the firstborn, a woman whose heart was as clear as a mountain spring. She was a nurse, diligent and soft-spoken, with a smile that made the village elders believe the world was still a good place. Then there was Eneka, the younger sister. Eneka was beautiful, but her beauty was like a polished machete, sharp, cold and dangerous.
While Adana spent her nights studying under a kerosene lamp, Nneka spent hers plotting how to possess things she had not earned. The tension reached a boiling point the day Adana received her visa to London. It was a Tier 2 health and care worker visa, a golden ticket that promised to lift the entire family out of the suffocating grip of rural poverty.
God has done it for us. Adana, you are the eye with which I see the world. You will go to London, you will work, and you will pull your sister up after you.
Nneka stood in the shadows of the veranda, her eyes narrowed. She watched her sister hold the passport as if it were a holy relic. To Adana, it was a responsibility. To Nneka, it was a theft. In Nneka's mind, she was the one who deserved the cold air of London, the designer coats, and the prestige of being an abroad lady. Why should Adana, who was so content with her simple life, be the one to go?
Congratulations, sister. We must celebrate tonight. I will cook your favorite, egusi soup with pounded yam. Thank you, Nneka. Once I settle there, I will send for you. I promise.
But Nneka did not want to be sent for. She did not want to be a shadow. She wanted to be the light.
That evening, the kitchen was filled with the aroma of toasted melon seeds and fermented locust beans. Mama Ifeoma had gone to the village square to boast to her kinsmen, leaving the sisters alone. Nneka walked with a chilling precision. In her bosom, she carried a small vial containing the extract of the Ogwa Nishi root, a potent, tasteless toxin she had procured from a herbalist 2 towns away.
This does not just kill the body, it traps the soul in a state of unrest.
Nneka didn't care about souls. She only cared about the flight scheduled for 11 p.m. the following night.
Food is ready.
They sat on the floor of their small living room. Adana ate with delight, talking excitedly about her dreams, how she would send money for Mama's surgery, and how she would buy Nneka a sewing machine for her tailoring business.
You have a big heart, Adana. But a big heart is a heavy burden to carry to London.
Halfway through the meal, Adana gripped her throat. Her eyes grew wide, reflecting the flickering light of the candle.
Nneka, my chest, it feels like fire. It is just the excitement, sister.
Adana tried to stand, but her legs gave way. She collapsed onto the floor, the pounded yam scattering like broken white stones. Nneka sat back and watched. She watched as the life began to drain from her sister's eyes. She watched as Adana's hand clawed at the dirt floor.
You were always the favorite, the nurse, the savior, but look at you now. You are just a girl dying in the dust. I have your height, Adana. I have your complexion. A little help and the right wig, the immigration officers in Lagos won't know the difference. We look enough alike for a passport photo to be a lie.
Adana's last breath was a ragged, wet sound. Her eyes remained open, staring directly at Nneka. Not with anger, but with a terrifying, silent sorrow. Nneka did not flinch. She waited until the body was cold. Then, with a strength fueled by desperation, she dragged her sister's corpse to the abandoned well at the back of the compound. She threw her in. The splash was muffled, a dull thud against the stagnant water.
Sleep well, Adana. I will live your life for you.
The next morning, Neka told Mama Ifoma that Adana had received an emergency call from the travel agency and had to leave for Lagos at dawn to finalize some papers. She claimed Adana didn't want to wake her for a tearful goodbye. Mama Ifoma wept, saddened by the abrupt departure, but blinded by the prospect of her daughter's success. Neka dressed in Adana's best clothes. She wore the heavy wig Adana had bought for the London cold. She carried Adana's suitcase and, most importantly, the passport and the visa.
At the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos, Neka's heart hammered against her ribs like a trapped bird. Every time a security officer looked her way, she felt the ghost of her sister standing behind her. But the disguise worked. The immigration officer glanced at the passport, then at Neka's face, shadowed by the brim of a stylish hat.
"Safe flight, Nurse Adana," the officer said, stamping the document. Nneka boarded the Boeing 787. As the plane lifted off Nigerian soil, she let out a breath she felt she had been holding for a lifetime. She was free. The past was buried in a well in Umunze. However, as the plane reached its cruising altitude, the cabin became unnaturally cold. Nneka wrapped her blanket tightly around her. She closed her eyes to sleep, but a voice whispered in her ear, a voice that sounded like the rustling of dry palm fronds.
Neka snapped her eyes open. The seat next to her was empty.
Why did you throw me in?
The cabin lights were dimmed. The other passengers were asleep. She wiped the sweat from her forehead.
It is just the guilt. Guilt is a disease that time will cure.
She went to the lavatory to wash her face. As she looked into the mirror, she didn't see her own reflection immediately. For a split second, the face staring back at her had bloated skin and water dripping from its hair. Neka screamed, but the sound was drowned out by the roar of the jet engines. When she blinked, the image was gone. Her own face was back.
The flight landed at London Heathrow Terminal 5 at 5:30 a.m. The London sky was a bruised purple, and the air that greeted the passengers as they disembarked was biting. Neka walked through the corridors, following the signs for arrivals. She felt a strange heaviness in her legs, as if her shoes were filled with the red mud of her village. She approached the UK Border Force counter. Her hands shook as she handed over the passport. The officer looked at the visa.
Welcome to the UK. Here for the nursing placement in Manchester?
Yes, sir.
Everything seems to be in order.
Thank you.
Neka took the passport back. She had done it. She had successfully stolen a life. She walked toward the baggage carousel, picked up her suitcase, and headed for the nothing to declare exit. As she pushed the trolley through the sliding glass doors into the arrival hall, she expected to see a crowd of strangers holding signs. She expected to see the bustling, indifferent world of London. Instead, the arrival hall was empty. No, not entirely empty. Standing directly in the center of the hall, under the bright fluorescent lights, was a woman. She was wearing the same dress Adana had dined in, the yellow floral print that was now stained with dark, muddy water. Her hair was matted, and her skin was the grey blue of a drowned corpse.
No, you are dead. I put you in the well. You are dead.
Here.
The figure turned. It was Adana. But her eyes were no longer filled with sorrow. They were twin pits of white fire.
You took my visa, Neka. You took my name. You took my future. Ow! Did you think London was far enough to hide from the blood of your sister? Can you not see her?
Help, please! Southampton!
But the few people walking in the distance, janitors and early morning travelers, didn't turn. They walked right past the dripping spectre as if she were made of air. To them, the hole was normal. To Neka, the hole was a graveyard. Adana began to walk toward her.
Please!
Each step left a puddle of murky, red-tinted water on the pristine Heathrow floor.
I am a nurse, Neka. I know how the heart works. I know how to make it stop. You used the Ogonishi route. It was a slow death. You watched me struggle.
Neka turned to run back towards the security gate, but the sliding doors wouldn't open. She banged on the glass. The security guards on the other side looked at her with confusion. To them, she was a lone woman screaming at a glass door. Neka turned back. Adana was inches away now. The smell of the ghost was overwhelming. The scent of stagnant water, decaying lilies, and the bitter tang of the poison.
The plane took you to the wrong destination, Neka. You thought you were coming to London, but you were only coming to me.
Suddenly, the lights of the airport flickered and died. The arrival hall was plunged into total darkness. No. Neka felt herself being pulled, not down, but through the floor. The sensation of cold air was replaced by the sensation of crushing pressure. When her eyes opened, she wasn't at Heathrow. She was standing in the middle of a road. It was night. The air was hot and humid, smelling of palm oil and dust. She looked up and saw a signpost, rusted and leaning. Welcome to Umunzi.
What? I was just there. I was in London.
She looked down at her hands. They were covered in the same grey-blue tint she had seen on her sister. She looked at her clothes. They were dripping with well water. A car's headlights appeared in the distance. Neka ran to the middle of the road, waving her arms. Help! Help me! I don't know where I am. The car, a battered white Mercedes, slowed down. The driver rolled down the window. It was Obina, Adana's fiancé. His face was etched with grief.
Adana? Adana, is that you? Adana, where have you been? I have been looking for you.
Adana?
You? They said you disappeared, that you went to London. But I knew something was wrong. You wouldn't leave me.
She looked into the side view mirror of the car. The face staring back at her wasn't her own. It was Adana's face, the face of the dead sister. The ghost had not just confronted her at the airport. The ghost had swapped places with her. Inside the car, on the passenger seat, sat a woman. She was dressed in expensive London winter clothes. She looked vibrant, healthy, and full of life. She turned to look at Neka through the window. It was in Neka's body, but the eyes were the kind, gentle eyes of Adana. The woman in the car, the real Adana, now inhabiting in Neka's body, spoke softly.
Thank you for the visa, sister. Mama will be well taken care of now. I will go to London and be the nurse I was meant to be. You, however, have a debt to pay to the earth.
No! Neka screamed. But only water came out of her mouth. The car sped away, leaving Neka,
The ghost of the sister she had murdered, standing alone in the red dust of Umunze. Neka felt a metaphysical pull. Her body began to drag itself against her will towards the back of the Okeke compound. She tried to fight it, but the spirit of the Ogunshi root was a cruel master. It dragged her to the edge of the abandoned well. She looked down into the dark, silent water. There, at the bottom, lay her own original body, the one Adana had inhabited briefly before the swap. With a final silent will, Neka's spirit was sucked into the well, back into the cold, dark water where she had cast her sister.
Months later, in a prestigious hospital in London, a nurse named Adana Okeke was receiving an award for her compassion and dedication. She was a favorite among the patients. She sent money home every month, enough for Mama Ifeoma to build a new house and for the village to have a new borehole. Back in Umunze, the villagers avoided the old Okeke compound. They said that on quiet nights, if you stood near the old well, you could hear the sound of a woman crying. Not for her life, but for a visa she would never use and a destination she would never reach. The villagers called it the Well of the Jealous Sister. They said it was a reminder that no matter how fast you fly, your sins have wings of their own, and they always know the way to the airport.